Hey everybody, Billy Gailey here, and lots of stuff is coming to meet at this one point. You know, I've been a guitarist for many years, been a big proponent of the cigar box guitar movement for the last decade plus. I wrote the history book, which is very, very tiny, right there. Okay, but yeah, anyway, I have just finished off the cigar box guitar amplifier notebook, and this is based off of a whole bunch of experimentation that I've done, you know, ever since I started playing the guitar back at age 10. You know, pretty much my interest in guitars and computers happened at the same time, and you know, pretty soon after that I had a soldering iron in my hand and I was building a computer, or I was hooking up all the electronics from this just busted up electric guitar. So anyway, what am I here for today? Well, over the past several months I've been doing some product reviews on Amazon as part of their Amazon Vine. I would call it a secret society, but basically they send me stuff and I review it, give it an honest review, good or bad. Most of them are good. Some of them have been really, really bad. But okay, so where all of this comes together is, you know, I wrote this. I've got, you know, all kinds of cool gizmos in here, like this, what would you call this, a tremolo effect that's made out of a nightlight. So I need to make example recordings for you guys. And, you know, normally what I would do is just put the camera, you know, there, cell phone actually, and I would just record it that way. But, you know, sound quality is not that good. You know, so I wanted to make something better. And, gosh, my laptop is at least 10 years old, if not closer to 15 years old. And, you know, it was Windows 8, and it got, you know, steadily upgraded, and just, you know, Microsoft can't resist taking something that worked quite well and making it not work so well anymore. So all that goes to say, my ability to record with the equipment that I used 10 years ago, even though it really hadn't changed, all the software updates have made it kind of impossible for me to record the way I used to. So I have been using the products that I get through Amazon Vine to create this recording gizmo. And it hasn't been straightforward, but the end result is pretty good. And I'm going to walk you guys through what I did. All right, back in a flash. Right, so my first idea, you know, the goal in mind is I wanted to have a 2 microphone system like this, where I could stick one in front of the amp, and, you know, whatever guitar noises are coming out of that, it gets picked up, and then have another microphone for me to talk to you guys and say, hey, you know, here's what this thing sounds like, strum, 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 and it gets picked up over there. Okay, so 2 audio channels being recorded at the same time. Seems pretty simple, right? Yeah. That was until looking at this thing on the Amazon Vine or the Amazon website. You know, I saw this. This is the wireless receiver for these 2 microphones, and it has this stereo 3.8, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack thing. And I thought, okay, cool. So one of these will be left, one of these will be right. Totally just, you know, guessed that that's what it was going to be. But when it arrived, lo and behold, the stereo adapter was working on, you know, can you tell what the problem is? It's mono. That's right. So there's no way to split these two with one receiver. So that's an issue. That kind of threw me back a little bit. So I had to come up with another way to get those two different audio signals recorded at the same time. Should be easy, stereo, left and right. These weren't going to work. So let's take a look at what I did next. So the next product I got, actually I got two of them. These are devices that are made for the people that stream video games like Roblox or whatever, you know, and you're seeing the game, you're seeing an inset picture of them, and they're yelling into a microphone and just generally being a pain in the ass for me to listen to, because I don't watch it, but other people in the house do. And never mind, opinion withheld. Anyway, so on one side, these have an HDMI input and an HDMI output. I guess that's to run the video from your computer into here, and then it goes to the TV or something. But on the other end, it has outlets. Well, it has plugs for a set of headphones and a microphone. Anyway, you know, and these come with HDMI cords. They come with the USB cables. Didn't really come with anything in terms of the microphone headphone stuff, but that's okay because I have the converter from the previous attempt. And you know, yes, I know this only converts mono into stereo. Okay. Actually, I took a look in here, and it does buzz out and work with a stereo phone plug. So this was going to work. And I thought, oh man, this is going to be so easy. I can plug this into the microphone and USB over to the computer. Boom. It's like instant sound card, right? Not really. Okay. There's an issue with pretty much every outboard device that I've tried to plug in to the laptop. It just doesn't do stereo. It'll do stereo headphones all day long, but the microphone is uniquely mono for some reason. So things like this that should work don't. Let's take a look at what I did next. So the next slew of products, this is a cable. I'm a guitarist, you know, and I understand cables. You plug it in one end, you plug it in the other, magic happens, and everything's working fine. So I started off with this one, and I thought, man, this is one heck of a cable. It has this nice braided, shielding on the outside. It's got USB ends on this side. It's got your Apple proprietary Thunderbolt, Lightning, whatever the heck they're calling it these days, and the more pedestrian named USB-C, which everybody is kind of going to. So I thought, okay, cool. I can plug that into the computer, and on this end, ta-da, I've got three fairly standard audio inputs, and I thought, awesome. So somehow I get the guitar audio into one, or maybe these two guys, or maybe this guy, and so the stereo goes through the cable and pops out on the USB end. But my laptop is old enough that I needed to have one more thing. So this is an adapter. It goes from USB-C to USB-A or USB 3.0, whatever they're calling that these days. Much like Apple can't decide on a name, and I don't care to remember because they're going to change it anyway. Anyway, so I started messing around with this. You had this in the computer, plug this into something to get an audio signal, and nothing happened. And I thought, surely this thing isn't, one directional. And yes, it turns out that's exactly what it is. So this is designed to go from an iPhone, iPad, or Android device, or one of the new iPhones that uses USB-C instead of whatever the heck this thing is. So it's designed to go from the device and it gets turned into audio. So, I don't know, so you can run your phone or tablet into a stereo. I don't know. Or maybe this goes in your car stereo and you can drive around and listen to stuff. I don't know. But it wasn't going to work for what I needed it. But anyway, it's a good piece of kit, but it's not for this project. So then what did I do? So the next thing I saw was this guy, and I'm like, hey, this, the guitarist in me recognizes this. This is your regular 1/4-inch phone plug that goes right into the guitar, and through a very similar, very nice 10-foot cable. Lo and behold, on the other end, ta-da! It's a USB. Okay, so in here there's going to be some electronics. That's your analog to digital converter, and it goes into USB-C, which, okay, I've been burned by this once, but I have my converter here, and this actually came from, I think, one of these streaming devices, but I just borrowed it and used it to convert this to the USB. All right, so now I plug that into the computer, plug this into the guitar, hit record, boom, I'm recording. And okay, that's kind of cool. Still has an issue with only wanting to record mono. So that's kind of a bummer, but it does work. I also had a problem with latency. So I'd play the guitar, I could record it, and I could play it back and record something else over it, like an awesome guitar lead. And it was this 100 millisecond gap. And I'm like, okay, so now I have to go in here and edit and push it over. And that would be something that I would have to do every single track that I added. So this worked, but it did have some latency issues. And that just means I have to dig around in the software. I have to figure out what I'm supposed to change. I'm going to increase the buffer size, or I'm going to decrease the buffer size, and on and on and on until it just magically works one day, and then I don't touch it ever again. Okay, there was another issue with this too. It turns out that this isn't just an analog to digital converter, it's a digital to analog converter. What does that mean? It means not only am I playing the guitar into the computer, but this hijacks the output of the computer to go to a set of headphones or speakers, which would be fine if it had an interface like this, but no. So now I have to go back in, go into settings, go into the sound settings, and I can say, oh, okay, so yes, we want this to be the input, but the output, I want to go to the speakers that are already hooked up to the computer, because that's what I listen to. So kind of a pain in the ass. Nothing a couple of clever, and quick settings will fix. It's a good bit of kit, but the latency issue, not going to work for me. So what's a guy to do next? Right, so up next, I found this guy. It's made by Reshow. It is a cassette player. All right, it looks like the old Walkman that we all went deaf with back in the 80s, walking around with the big orange headphones. Yes, we all remember that all too well. And it also has this USB-C, USB-A, whatever the heck it is. Plug this into here. This thing can have batteries. You can run it on 2 AA's or 2 AAA's. It doesn't matter, because once you plug that thing in, it runs off of power through the USB. But as you're playing stuff, it's also getting converted and going into here, and it goes into the computer, and I can use my old crusty software that worked fine 10 or 12 years ago, and it still works today, and it records in stereo. Haha, so part of my problem is solved. But, you see the issue? This is a cassette. I don't want to have to record a whole bunch of stuff on this, digital phone and have an analog recording of a cassette and then try to match it up in, editing and whatnot. So, yeah, really, really cool, but there was an extra step in there that I didn't want to have to take. However, along with this guy, there should be, let me get it, I think it's over here. Hang on. Yes. So also included with the Reshow cassette, they have this double-ended microphone headphone jack thing. And let's see, I see headphones and I see audio to tape. So they have 2 plugs. This one's for headphones. This one's for audio in, essentially. So that goes in there, and now I can record stereo. Okay. There is an experiment I need to try with this, just for shits and grins, to see if I can pump audio in through this cable, see if this thing works on the fly and encodes it into a digital stereo signal here. I should try that. I haven't yet. I should try that right now, shouldn't I? I think so. In probably what is one of the most unexpected results ever, this worked. I have a device that I made, I'll show you that in a second, that cranks out a stereo signal, and just doing a quick test, did a multi-track test. There weren't problems with latency. It did pick stuff up. This did put audio into the computer. It didn't screw up the connection to the speakers, so I could hear stuff on playback. This, oddly enough, could become the basis of a digital audio workstation. No joke. So, the totally unforeseen benefit of this, the Reshow cassette recorder, USB powered, stereo come insa, stereo goes outsa. It works. I'm pretty freaking impressed. Okay. And I'm going to have links for all this stuff down there, so don't panic. Anyway, so riding high on that unexpected result, I do want to say something about cables, because every once in a while guitar cables will come up on Amazon Vine. I always nab some because, I'm a guitarist and I love to get free stuff, and I also love to have a ton of nicely braided, red, gold-plated, not too crazy about right angle plugs, but anyway, I have been very impressed with this one, with this cable. And the brand is, I'm sure it's some sort of gobbledygook, just a bunch of random, yes, it's the ANNNWZZD. So, they don't even make up names for companies anymore. So we've gone way past being subtle with a name like, Awesome Cable or something like that. whatever. Okay, so I have a 10-foot cable here. I also have these 8-inch patch cords, which, if you have any guitar player that's been playing for a while, is going to have a bunch of stomp boxes, and these things work great to connect those as well. Why are they great? Because, in my opinion, and in my testing with other cables, there's none of that microphonic, or very, very little of the microphonic, banging the cable around on stuff, and you hear it come through the amp. Boom, boom, boom. This didn't have much of that at all. Also, for the length of cables that I tested, these have a very low capacitance between the hot signal and the ground shield of the thing, so there's not a whole lot of signal loss at the other end of the cable. So this is pretty cool. It also seems sturdy. It's bright red, so it's lead guitar player approved, because it's red and it's pay attention to me. This is important. What's coming through here. Anyway, so if you need an ego stroke, there you go. So these are good. I recommend them, even though they don't have a real name for their brand. So, what's it got to do next? Right. So, actually, in the Cigar Box Guitar Amplifier Notebook, I have plans for this old 4-channel mixer. It only deals with mono, and it takes 4 input signals. You can set the level, and it dumps them all down into one track, and I can set the output volume. And this was made for dealing with a guitar signal, going through a bunch of effects in parallel, dumping them into here, and then having a single output to go into the amplifier. And this thing, I made it to run off of 9 volts, but there's nothing preventing it from being run on something like 18 volts. I think up to 24 is okay based on the chip that I used. I altered this circuit into this, which I guess is the mix into down and out. Okay, yeah, I'm reusing the sticker from the thing as well, the mix down 4 into 1. All right. I've got 2-channel inputs in here, and I've got volume, and then I have a left and right fader up here using this sort of MXR style knob. Anyway, and this worked out pretty well. So power it with 9 volts off of the power brick that I've got over there. And here's my output jack for the headphone plug. He goes in here. I can set the level for the guitar, for the microphone. Boom. And I can now record a stereo signal. I can pan them left and right, hard left and right if I want to, or I can like back off of that a little bit and have them slightly off center. Oh, look, we have a visit from our editor. Hi, this is Annie, the resident editor. You probably want a snack, or you want to go outside. You want to go outside? You want to go outside? I'll be right back. So, if you remember these guys, I keep coming back to these because even though they only recorded in mono, they really had low latency, and I mean, it seemed too good to be, something just to not use. Wanting to use these, I came across this guy. Ta-da! This is for people like me that have had VCRs, the old top-loading ones from the 1980s. I think mine finally has given up the ghost, and finally threw it out. don't have to hand in my man card for throwing something away. All right, so yeah, this thing will take your video and right and left audio channels, and it's powered by this USB cable, and this is the mini USB. I didn't realize they still made these things, you know, but this is just to supply power with it, so maybe that's fine. And this thing will scale whatever video is coming in here, and it'll upscale it to 720 or 1080 progressive. Anyway, I'm not really concerned about the video. I just want to get the audio stuff working. So what does it do? It converts it into an HDMI. And I don't know a whole lot about HDMI. I've never really used it. I mean, there's a HDMI port on the computer. I can plug an extra monitor into it. I've done that a couple of times. Anyway, come to find out, the HDMI standard will handle stereo just fine, but it'll also handle the Dolby 5.1 surround. This thing should be able to handle just about anything. You know, and also further down the cable, one of these video audio streaming things should be able to handle it as well. So here's what I came up with. Guitar signal runs into here. This thing's getting powered by the USB. So I take the HDMI output from this guy. So that goes into the input there. And where I find my USB cable. Alright, so then that goes into there, and that gets plugged into the computer, and now I've got this conversion into the computer. Surprisingly low latency. So I did have to tweak a few things here and there, but the sound quality is surprisingly good. I can run a pretty hot audio signal through here, and by the time it goes through the conversion through the HDMI plumbing, then finally out through the USB into the computer, it's low noise. It just hits that sweet spot. You know, it's all the way up to the red line. It doesn't overpower it. So there's kind of a bonus, like, limiting thing going on in here too. That's a bonus. So, you know, I can recommend using both of these things. I know it's kludgy, but you know, if you've got some old video stuff or audio stuff that you want to run through this kind of plumbing to get it into your computer, this is actually a decent solution. Now, I got all this stuff through Amazon Vine, so keep in mind, I didn't actually have to pay for this stuff. These are promotional items, but they do work, and I know they're not that expensive. Anywho, so how does the audio signal get into here when, you know, a guitar and a microphone are just using these, you know, big, clunky, you know, 1/4-inch jacks? I needed to make something, and turns out I didn't have to pay anything for that either, because I have a ton of electronic parts laying around. Why do I have a ton of electronic parts laying around? Because I've been parting out stuff to write a book about building guitar amps out of leftover electronics crap. So, let's take a look at what I did next. Alright, the editor has been dispatched to the backyard. Where was I? Yes, okay, so we have a bunch of different solutions. We've got the streaming devices, we've got guitar cables that turn into USB inputs for the computer, and then we've got this abomination of this circuit. I will put a link to this schematic in the description as well. So anyway, this takes care of, you know, leveling things out, mixing it left and right. That output goes into this converter, which encodes the audio into HDMI. HDMI goes into one of these streaming things, and that gets pumped through a USB connection into the computer, and I'm off and running. I've got some pretty good solutions here, and it all came from Amazon Vine. All right, so that's it. Appreciate you guys hanging with me because I know this was long. I know you guys don't like to watch anything longer than 5 minutes. So all I can say is I'm sorry. I had a lot of stuff to go through here. All right, links in the description. Schematic also linked to in the description, and a non-affiliate link to my books over there because, you know, that would be unfair to send you an affiliate link to my own book. As a matter of fact, I think that's against the rules, so no dice there. But the other stuff, yeah, it's affiliate links. It goes to Amazon, and I do earn a little from qualified purchases that go through that. All right, check the stuff out, guys, and I will talk to you later.